Hey all, Heretic here, and today we're going to go over spells. We're going to talk about them and where we think they rank in quality versus cost and where they are. We're going to discuss all this fun stuff, so let's jump in and see what we think. Do you think I'm crazy in how I rank these, or are these about where you'd put them? What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Let's jump in. All right, let's go into it with no particular order. Let's just have some fun randomness. Tier 3, 2 gold, shiny ring, give your minions +1/+1. This one I don't particularly love, and the reason for that is, I mean, it's 2 gold. You're better off typically just buying a minion, if anything, just so you can sell and get more value later, but typically those stats are going to better serve you when you're getting this. Later in the game, you're not going to want it because it's only a 1/1 buff, and early in the game, you're better off buying a minion. Yeah, if you only have 2 gold, why not play the 1/1 buff? But otherwise, I feel like there's better options for this, so we're going to start with, to me, a C. Just not exciting, not great, just does the job. Next up, we're going to go to Tier 6, 4 gold, Azerite Empowerment. Give your minions +4/+4. Well, this is a Tier 6 spell. It is a very expensive spell at 4 gold, and considering how late in the game you're getting it, I don't particularly like this one at all. I know we're starting on kind of a downer here, but it's only a 4/4 buff, and if you're Tier 6, this is not something you typically want to buy. You're better off finding minions, other spells. This one to me is a solid D. I just don't see the value in this one at 4 gold at Tier 6. It's just too small a buff. It doesn't give the buff to your minions everywhere. It's just what you got. Next, we have Tier 5, 2 gold, Armor Stash. Set your armor to 5. I think this one is amazing. I think this is probably one of the better ones. It's cheap. It can take you out of lethal range. This thing is phenomenal. You're sitting 11 health, but you have 5 armor. You just have so much more survivability with this one. I mean, this to me is like an ice block in some situations and will make your game go a little longer. S tier, big time. Next up, we have Tier 1, 1 gold, Fortify. Give a minion +3 health and taunt. I mean, often we're looking for taunt in the game. Often we're just trying to find that, and we're rolling for it madly so our board can survive because we need a taunt. We can't find it. For 1 gold to give taunt, this is phenomenal. Now, is it S tier? No, it's not broken good, but this is damn good. And this is at this cost in the tier, and just there's going to be so many of them. Fantastic. Next up, we have Tier 6, 5 gold, Sacred Gift. Give a minion Divine Shield. Come on, targeted Divine Shield, instant, easy value. Plop it down on your giant, cleave minion. Pop it down on a minion you need to survive. Yeah, it's 5 gold, but the value is huge. I mean, honestly, this is another S tier card. It's expensive, but there's a reason it's expensive. It's good. Now we're going to look at Tier 4, 3 gold, Brann's Blessing. Your battle cries trigger twice until next turn. I mean, it's situational. It's well costed. It's a Brann effect without having to put Brann on the board. And yeah, it's only for 1 turn, but you might only need it for 1 turn. And since it's Tier 4, you can get it before you can get the Brann. Because it's situational and it's not going to be for a lot of boards, it's definitely a B, but it's a nice solid spell for its cost. Next, we have Tier 1, 2 gold, Enchanted Lasso. Steal a random minion from the Tavern. Well, it's 2 gold for a minion. Yeah, it's random, but it's Tier 1, so you can get it super early and get a big effect from it. I think Enchanted Lasso is just a nice solid card. Not too weak, not too strong, just right. Next, we have Tier 3, 1 gold, Reckless Investment. Gain 3 gold next turn, lose 2 gold. So you're going to get 3 gold right away for 1 gold, and then you're going to lose 2 in the end. So it's going to be a wash, but the timing is right. And because of this, you can enable tiering at weird times. You can get away with some triples that you might not supposed to have with a tier. It's definitely going to have a cost in the end of the next turn, but who cares if you're getting enough value from it? I think this is another solid A. It's really good economy. It's definitely going to give you an advantage. Next is Tier 2, 2 gold, Chef's Choice. Choose a minion, get a different minion of the same type. It's targeted search. It's not dramatically effective because it's just going to give you one of the type. It's not going to give you the same one, but if you need something in a pool, it's a pretty good way to limit the number of cards that are going to be offered in that one thing. I'm going to say it's a B. It's not great, but it's not bad at all. Next, we have Tier 3, 1 gold, Fleeting Vigor. Give a minion +5/+5 till next turn. After you play this, you have a big chunk of value. If you, say, are feeling relatively strong and it's going to cost all but 1 gold a tier, and this is sitting in the shop, why not tier, buy this, play this, and go for it? just try to get ahead to those better cards. This card definitely enables it, and I think it has some good potential. It's not insane, so it's just a good solid B, but it definitely has potential. Tier 3 1 gold Tricky Trousers. Give a minion +1/+2 and taunt, or if it has taunt already, remove it. This allows you to either strip away taunt from something you don't want to have taunt, so it's more survivable, or to give something taunt that you need to die at the right time, or to protect other minions. I feel like this is a nice solid spell. Not insane, but really effective for what you need to. I say once again, this is an A. Things like this just give you great utility that you just can't. It's too hard to find the minions sometimes. Just get this spell good to go. I love it. Next, we have tier 4 4 gold Planar Telescope. Discover a minion of your most common type. Now, it gives you targeted discoverability. It can give you the minion you're looking for, but it's going to be one of the entire tier. And it is 4 gold, so it's a little on the expensive side. You know, not often you're going to want to spend that kind of gold to discover out of one tribe unless you desperately need that. And you're like, well, I could keep rolling and waste my gold, or I could just make sure I at least get something from my tier. But because it's 4 gold, I can't really rate it any higher than B. It's solid, but it's almost a C because of that 4 cost to me. Next, we have tier 2 3 gold Hasty Excavations. Gain 1 gold. This costs health to buy instead of gold. So it's not really 1 gold, it's 3 health. That's huge. If you just need 1 more gold and you see this in the shop, you buy it for 3 health and you're good to go. I think this is another solid card that's going to give you an advantage. Now, it's only 1 gold, so it's not crazy. It's just a solid B, but at tier 2, you're going to have access to this really fast, and having that extra gold can make a big difference. Now, tier 5 3 gold Upper Hand. Start of combat, set a random enemy minion's health to 1. This is huge. How often do you run into a board of all massive minions? Yeah, they might have 1 buff minion, but more often than not, you're going to get huge value from this. This is S tier for me. Yeah, it's 3 gold, but if you know what your next opponent's board looks like, this can definitely give you a massive advantage. Next up, tier 2 1 gold Careful Investment. Gain 2 gold next turn. Folks, this is huge. For 1 gold, you get 2 next turn. That lets you plan the next turn in advance. Tier a little faster. It's tier 2, so you get it super early. I think this is easily A tier. This kind of economy is just massive. It is going to give you a big leg up in the early game, or even in the late game. If you're just floating a gold, pick it up. Have extra gold for the following turn. Now we have tier 2 3 gold Strike Oil. Increase your maximum gold by 1. I mean, this is big. Your max gold increased by 1. Obviously, the earlier you can do this, the better. There is a lot of risk with this because you are going to be down a minion the whole time. And I'm a little concerned about how that's going to play out. But if you're playing the right hero, maybe you already have some extra tempo from your hero power, you can afford to risk this. I think this one is probably a solid A. I'm going to want to see it play out. It could be an S tier, but I mean, maybe in the end it'll end up being a D and you just take so much damage. But I feel like the potential for this card to be out of control is definitely there. Next up, tier 1 1 gold Tavern Coin. This is a solid card. It's not going to be amazing. It's not going to be bad, but if you're going to float a gold and this is in the shop, why not? Why not buy this thing just so you can save that gold and not waste it? Easy B. Next, tier 4 2 gold Ritual Growth. Replace all cards in the tavern with 1 from a higher tavern tier. Now, a little RNG. It's only 2 gold. It's tier 4, but it's a little RNG. If you're desperate and you have no direction, why not? Rip it. Because of the random nature, I really can't make this an A. It's just another good solid card, but definitely something if you have no direction at all, can work for you. Next, we have tier 3 2 gold Echoing Roa. Give a friendly minion at the end of your turn, gain +2/+2. Yes, it's a +2/+2 stat that grows over the time. Yes, it's an end of turn effect, so there's ways to get shenanigans to make it trigger more, but it's only a 2/2 buff. It's only 2 gold. So I really don't want to say it's bad, because it's not bad. It's just also not great. It's a B. I mean, if you're floating 2 gold and you've got no other option, why not play this on a minion that you're going to keep? That way it can scale up. Even if it's just like your Titus in the back and you want it to get a little bigger so it's more likely to survive, there's a play for this card. It's a solid B for me. Hey, guess what? Tier 4 3 gold Defender's Right. Give a friendly minion +8/+8 in taunt. Yeah, it's a taunt. I love taunt spells. I love being able to give a minion taunt. I don't feel like the 8/8 matters as much to me, because it's just the fact that it says taunt. but the 8/8 early enough is a massive difference. So yeah, I don't mind this card at all. To me, this is a solid A. It's a big bump of stats in the early game. It gives a minion taunt in the late game. It's just versatile and I like it. Tier 2, 2 gold, leaf through the pages. Your next 3 refreshes are free. Folks, this is 2 gold for 3 rolls. Yeah, sometimes you can get some weird spots where you're going to end up having to waste a roll or a gold, and it does feel bad, but typically this is always going to be good. For me, this is just a solid A because it's free gold when it happens at the right time, and it's going to happen pretty consistently. It's just worth it. Tier 5, 5 gold, Golden Touch. Make a random in the Tavern golden. Now, I've had a lot of discussion with people commenting about how this is a bad card, or at least they don't like the way I describe it, because to buy 3 minions in the shop would be 9 gold to get a triple. To buy this, you have to spend 5 gold to buy the spell, and then 3 gold to buy the minion. So that is 8 gold. So it's not cheap. You don't have direction. That makes it very good because it potentially, say you're tier 5, pop this down, and get a 6 right away. You got nothing at all. This is a good way out. But at the same time, it isn't cheap. I admit it isn't cheap. Because of that, I have to say this is a B for me. It's some random. It's expensive. It's your entire turn. So you either can roll and look at tier 5 in this scenario I'm going with, or you can just do this and hope you get lucky on the 6. I feel like more often than not, you'll have more luck with the 6. But that being said, it's just how I feel right now. I want to get some games on this one before I can truly call it, but it's at least a B. Tier 6, 2 gold, Perfect Vision, set a minion stats to 20/20. It's easy. It's direct target. Yes, in the late game, 20/20 isn't a massive stat line by any stretch, but if you need to protect a minion, if you need to get it out of the basement on stats, it's an easy A for me. It just sits there and does the job well. Next, we have tier 4, 3 gold, Titus's Tribute. Your death rattles trigger twice until next turn. Hey, if you're in the very late stages of the game especially, this is massive. You don't have to have a Titus on the board, but you can get the triggers so you can do nasty things. Like you can be weak 1 turn, draw this spell, play it out, and now your death rattles, which were just minor, are great. Now you don't need to have that Titus on the board. You can sell it, put another minion on there, and be even stronger. This is easily an A for me. Yeah, it's only going to work for 1 turn, but at 3 gold, it's well worth it. Let's look at tier 3, 3 gold, Natural Blessing. Choose a minion, give all minions that share a type with it +3, +2. This is a massive spell. Tier 3 for 3 gold, that is a ton of stats. And I just gotta say, if you're playing a mono board, this is the way to go. And hey, if you're playing a curator, just so you know, your hero power is all types. Play it on that. Oh look, they all share type with it. Oh, do you have a phalanx? Play it on the phalanx. Your entire board gets +3, +2. Yeah, if you're playing on a phalanx, it's higher tier, so it doesn't matter as much because it's later in the game. The stats aren't as big a deal. Still matters. And for 3 gold, a whole board of stats is not bad. Easy A for me. Easy, easy A. Now, tier 6, 2 gold, Saloon's Finest, refresh the tavern with spells. This depends what you're doing, but spells are relatively cheap and have pretty good effects. And if you already have a solid board, it's phenomenal. Now, if your board's not great, a bunch of spells probably aren't going to save you, but they're going to push you in the right direction at the very least, depending where you are. I think this has lots of potential. I'm going to say it's a B right now, because it really depends on the randomness of what it gives you. But I think long-term, we might be moving this one up to an A. I just need to play more games. Basically any games at this point. And of course, buddies. Tier 5, 3 gold, buddy up, discover a buddy. Well, it's only 3 gold to discover a buddy. And it kind of depends on a couple things whether or not this is good. There's a lot of buddies. There's a really good chance you're going to get a bad buddy. But you're tier 5 at least if you're getting this spell, which means you have access to the better buddies. If you do have a Brann and you get lucky, this can be really good. Now, a lot of buddies can give you gold back, can give you better cards, so it's very likely this card's going to pay itself. The worst case scenario, it's 2 gold. So if this is the beginning of your turn and you see this an option, especially if you have a Brann, I think you kind of have to play it. I'm gonna make it a B, but I feel like it almost might be an A because buddies, especially in the late game, can be really, really good. Now we've got tier 4, 3 gold, Contracted Corpse, discover a death rattle minion. Well, it's targeted discovery of a minion type. If you want to find a death rattle minion, you've already got a death rattle board, it doesn't hurt you, it's a discover, so you're gonna choose from 3 different cards. Odds are you're gonna get something you want. Potentially not. There's a lot of garbage minions, you're right. Depends on your lobby and what minions are in, but for me, solid B. Now we have tier 5, 3 gold, Dreamer's Embrace. Trigger a friendly minion's battle cry. So this is a tough one. I mean, it's 3 gold, it's tier 5, you trigger a battle cry. It really depends what you have. Now, obviously, if you're buying this, you have a good battle cry. If you don't care. So knowing that it's going to have a battle cry you want to cast it on means it's good card. There's no reason to buy it otherwise. Just don't. But if you do, that means you probably have something you want. You're looking at buffing your shop. You're looking at getting more card generation. So because of that, I have to say it's an A, because you know kind of what you're going to get from it. And it's only 3 gold, so it's well worth it, especially if you're running a Brann, right? Next up, we have tier 2, 1 gold, Overconfidence. If you win your next combat, gain 3 gold. If you tie, gain 1. I mean, come on. If you feel good, it's a 1 gold spell. You can't go wrong with this. Is it broken? No. Is it good and consistent? Yeah, solid B. Tier 2, 2 gold, Lantern Lights. Give a minion stats equal to your Tavern tier. Well, is it good in the early game? Not particularly. Is it great in the late game? Once again, not hugely, because you're giving stats. If you're tier 6, you're giving a 6/6 for 2, which isn't bad. But I almost rather roll for something else if it's super late. And if it's super early, I don't really want to spend 2 gold for a 2/2 unless I'm casting it on something really good. So it's situational at best. For me, this one is just a C. I have no interest in it. There are going to be scenarios where it's good, but I think more often than not, it's not going to be too exciting. It's a little buff to your cleave, it's a little buff to some minion that needs it, but it's always just a little buff. Tier 4, 3 gold, Misplaced Tea Set. Give a friendly minion of each type +3/+3. Well, I mean, if you're buying this spell, you're probably running at least 3 different tribes, I'm going to assume. That means it's at least a 9/9 buff spread across those minions. It's pretty good for 3 gold. Another solid B. Tier 1, 1 gold, Tavern Dish Banana. Give a minion +2/+2. Well, it's 1 gold. It's tier 1. It's not a bad buff for 1 gold. It's a 2/2 buff. That's a decent bit of tempo in the early game. In the late game, you're just not probably going to buy this unless you're floating a gold and it's in the shop. Solid B again. Tier 4, 3 gold, Primal Staff. Your end of turn effects trigger twice this turn. Of course, this is decent. You're not going to buy it if it's a shop where you don't have any end of turns on your board. Why would you spend money on this? But if you do, and you haven't been able to find that Drakari, or you just need that buff for 1 turn, maybe you're using a young Murk-Eye or something along those lines, you just want to go for it the extra time, why not play this spell? I'm going to say it's a solid B. It's situational, but when it works, it works. Tier 1, 1 gold, them apples. Give minions in the Tavern +1/+3. This is a lot of early tempo. 1/3 is really good for 1 gold. Yeah, you have to keep that shop, but if that shop is already a triple that you're looking at, or just good tempo cards to begin with, this one's well worth it. It's not broken by any stretch, but it's easy stats, easy B. Next, we have tier 1, 1 gold, Pointy Arrow. Give a minion +4 attack. I mean, it's not great in the early game because there's so many Divine Shield and Reborn minions, Death Rattles that don't care. It's not great in the late game because it's too small a buff. To be honest, there's just a lot of things I'd rather see pop up in the shop than this one. For me, this thing's a C. No thank you. Next, we're going to go with tier 6, 2 gold, the Lost Staff of Hamuul. Choose a minion, refresh the Tavern with minions of the type. It's this targeted discovery at 2 gold. The entire shop, you're playing beasts, you want a beast, you target it, the entire shop is filled with beasts. That is kind of awesome at 2 gold. Folks, it's not busted, but it's damn good. Solid A. And finally, we have tier 5, 3 gold, Unmasked Identity. Discover a new hero power. This is just busted good. It's a tier 5. It's only 3 gold. I think this thing's gonna end up being a tier 6. I think it could go up to 5 gold, and I'd still want it in the right scenario. Yeah, you're playing a hero that's really good. You're playing Scabs, Tess. You don't want this. Playing Reno? You really want this. You've already golded something. You've got no hero power. Playing Thorum? You've already got your tier 7 minion. Slam this thing down, and now you get a new hero power. This is S. This is power incarnate for most heroes that want it. And if you don't, just don't buy it. That's it, folks. That's my list. That's what I rank them at. This is what I think of spells. I think there's a lot more good ones than bad ones. There's a lot of mediocre situational ones, but the good ones far outweigh the bad ones. So it's going to be very interesting making those decisions, seeing when people are going to overinvest in spells and then not have enough minions, or ignore the spells and just play too many minions. It's going to be a while for people to figure out what works for them, but these are really solid, folks. Make sure you're buying them at the right time. Don't ignore these economy spells. They're going to give you the advantage really fast in the early game, and then later you get all these targeted buffs and discovers that are just going to make you win. Thanks for watching all. I hope you had a good time. Can't wait to see you in the Battlegrounds. Until then, have a good one. Later.